Mr. Harrison, a man whose wealth was matched only by his temper, slammed his fist on the polished oak desk. The sound echoed through the silent, cavernous study. "Fired. You're fired. Clara, get out of my house. Immediately." His voice, a low growl of fury, was directed at the woman standing quietly by the door. Clara, his maid of over a decade, didn't flinch. She simply nodded, her expression unreadable, and turned to leave without a word. The reason for his outburst: a missing antique watch, a family heirloom he was convinced she had stolen. There was no proof, only his suspicion, but for a man like Harrison, suspicion was as good as a verdict. He watched her go, a grim satisfaction settling in his chest. Justice, he thought, had been served. He spent the rest of the afternoon stewing in his anger, pacing the length of his mansion, the silence somehow louder than before. The house felt empty, cold. Every gleaming surface, every perfectly placed ornament, was a testament to Clara's meticulous care, and now it all seemed to mock him. He tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in his gut, the small voice that whispered he might have made a terrible mistake. As evening approached, the silence became unbearable. He decided to pour himself a drink, heading to the Grand Library. As he reached for a crystal glass, his eyes caught a glimpse of something on the floor near the large, ornate fireplace. He bent down and picked it up. It was his watch. It must have slipped from his wrist the night before when he was relaxing by the fire. A wave of cold realization washed over him. He had been wrong. Horribly, cruelly wrong. Shame, a feeling Harrison was unfamiliar with, burned in his chest. He had accused an innocent woman, a woman who had served his family with unwavering loyalty for 10 years. He sank into his leather armchair, the watch feeling heavy and cold in his hand. He had to fix this. He would call her, apologize, offer a job back with a raise. Yes, that's what he would do. Money could fix anything, couldn't it? He reached for his phone, but then he noticed something else on the small side table next to his chair. It was an envelope, with his name neatly written on the front in Clara's familiar script. His heart began to pound. She had left him a letter. With trembling hands, he tore open the envelope. The letter inside was not one of anger or accusation. It was a letter of farewell, and it contained a story he had never heard. "Dear Mr. Harrison," it began, "by the time you read this, I will be gone. I'm not writing to plead my innocence regarding the watch, because I know you will find it soon enough. I am writing to tell you something I should have told you a long time ago." The letter went on to describe Clara's life before she came to work for him. She wrote about her son, David, a bright, talented boy with a passion for art. She had worked 2 jobs to save money for his college education, dreaming of the day he would become a famous artist. But one rainy night, everything changed. A speeding car, driven by a reckless young man, had run a red light, striking David as he crossed the street. The accident left her son with severe injuries, and the driver never stopped. Harrison felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He remembered the news reports from years ago, a hit-and-run that had shocked the community. The letter continued, and the words on the page began to swim before his eyes. Clara wrote about the driver, a wealthy young man who used his family's influence and expensive lawyers to escape any real consequences. He received a slap on the wrist, a temporary license suspension, and a fine that was pocket change to his family. The young man's name was Thomas Harrison, his son. The air was knocked from Harrison's lungs. He remembered that night all too well. He had been furious, not at his son's recklessness, but at the inconvenience, the potential scandal. He had hired the best legal team, silenced the media, and made the problem disappear. He never once thought about the victim, the faceless person his son had so carelessly injured. He had seen it only as a problem to be managed, a mess to be cleaned up with money and power. Clara's letter explained how the accident had shattered her world. David's dreams were gone, replaced by a life of chronic pain and disability. The settlement money they received barely covered the initial medical bills. That's when she saw the job posting for a housekeeper at the Harrison mansion. She knew who he was, who his son was, but she was desperate. She needed a steady income to pay for David's ongoing care, and so, for 10 years, she had walked into the home of the man whose son had destroyed her own son, his future. Every day, she wrote, I cleaned your home. I polished the silver you ate with. I washed the clothes you wore. And I cared for the house where you and your son lived your comfortable lives. I did it not out of forgiveness, but out of a mother's love for a child. I swallowed my pain and my pride every single day because my son needed me. I watched you celebrate your son's successes, his graduation, his promotions, all while my own son struggled to simply get out of bed in the morning. Tears streamed down Harrison's face, dripping onto the letter. The weight of his actions, his willful ignorance, crashed down on him with suffocating force. He had seen Clara as nothing more than an employee, a part of the furniture. He never saw the woman, the grieving mother who served him with a broken heart. His accusation about the watch, so petty and cruel in hindsight, was the final injustice, the one she could no longer bear. Her final words broke him completely. I am not leaving because you fired me. Mr. Herson? I am leaving because I can no longer stand in the shadow of your family's happiness, knowing it was built on the ruins of my own. I have saved enough now to move somewhere quiet with David, somewhere we can try to find peace. I don't know if you believe in such things, but I will pray for you. I will pray that you learn to see the people around you, not as objects or employees, but as human beings with their own stories, their own pain, and their own dreams. Goodbye. The letter fell from his numb fingers. The grand house, once a symbol of his success, now felt like a prison, its walls echoing with the silence of his profound failure as a human being. He had lost more than a maid. He had lost a piece of his own humanity without ever realizing it was gone. He looked at the expensive watch in his hand. It's ticking a steady, rhythmic count of the seconds, each one a reminder of the time he could never get back and the amends he might never be able to make. For the first time in his life, the richest man in town was utterly and completely bankrupt. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more content that makes you think and feel. We'll see you in the next one.